Okay, so let's say that you figured out a drum groove, you've got it in your head, you've practiced it, you've played it here, and you're ready to record, you record it, and it's not 100% with the metronome, it's not 100% locked in time, there are some mistakes here, which is fine, but then you do that a couple more times with different instruments, and then you get something that's a little like this. Like if I just solo one of these, it sounds okay. Like that sounds like a bass line. But as soon as we start to layer in other instruments, if they're just a little off, the whole thing sounds really off. So we need to get good at working in the piano roll. So you click on a track. Let's work on this bass track first. So I'm clicking on the track and I'm going to piano roll. So now I'm in the piano roll. And once we're here, we have to be able to, know where we are, zoom in and zoom out. So I'm using a Mac computer and I have this trackpad. So what I could do is I can, just pinch zoom and I zoom into the piano roll. And I know that might not be everyone's case. So then you could take these buttons right here and you can zoom in and out there. You could also hold like Control or Command and then use the wheel on your mouse. And we see this purple bar here. That purple bar moves in the timeline up here and in the piano roll. So if I wanted to go to measure 2, we don't have measure numbers here, but we do have measure numbers up here. So if I wanted to go to measure 2, I can move the playhead to measure 2. And now it's there. And we'll notice that we have these smaller lines here. That's our grid. And we could change the subdivision of our grid. And we change that by going up here, clicking on that, and you can change it here. If you go to automatic grid size, when you zoom in, the grid's gonna get smaller and smaller. I mean, it ends up being like 32nd notes and 64th notes. But if you want to use the grid specifically for your groove, then you could adjust it yourself. So you have to think about what subdivision your part was in. So that bass drum part, let's listen to that bass drum part. Let's figure out what subdivision it's in. I think it's trying to be in the 16th note subdivision. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to adjust our grid to 16th note subdivision, which it is. And now if I zoom in here, I see all the notes. I see the beginnings of the notes. And then I see where the different parts of the beat are. So this is B1, E, and I feel like this first note should have been on beat 1. Now, what I could do is I could like count and I could play it and I can determine where each one is supposed to be. That takes time. So there's a tool that is built into the piano roll that can help you. It's called Quantize. So what quantizing does is it takes the beginnings of notes and it snaps them to the nearest subdivision that you choose. So I'm going to go to, you could quantize in 2 places. You can quantize by clicking on the region up here. You can go to edit, or in the piano roll, you can hold down your mouse, highlight all the notes you want to quantize. Maybe it's not all of them. Maybe it's just a few of them. Let's just try with a few of them. Let's try with these 3. I can right click, quantize, and I'm going to quantize to the 16th note. So now if I'm going to zoom in a little more and I'm going to undo that, and this is a really important action. There's your undo. You could also use Control Z on your keyboard, but what it's going to do is look what happens. It took these notes and it bumped them to the nearest subdivision. Now, it's not intelligent. It didn't know what you wanted to do. It just moved them to the closest. So if your time was a little too off, it's going to bump them to the wrong one. But let's listen to just this beginning part with the metronome on. Highly recommend having the metronome on when you're working. It might not sound like your vision of the song. Vision of the song probably doesn't have a metronome in it, but it will help you hear where that beat is. And that's going to help you get to that vision quicker. So now I'm just going to, let's do it. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted. And there's nothing wrong with like talking to yourself, verbalizing your groove against the metronome so that you could check. That's just a really good idea, good way to get from your brain to reality here. So Now this next one, maybe I want to do this manually. So to manually change where a note is, I'm going to click on its note. Oh, and automatically, do you see how it snapped it there? Let's undo that. And I can just move it. Now those notes are going to snap. You see how my note snapped? Those notes are going to snap to the grid. And we can turn that on and off with our little magnet up here. So now I turn the magnet off, and when I move a note, it is no longer snapped to the grid. We're going to use this later, but I want to make sure this note, the beginning of this note, is exactly when I intended. So I'm going to turn this magnet on, and now when I move it, it's going to snap right to that grid. So let's just do the rest of these. All right, so you need to know what you want it to sound like. I want it dum bum 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 bum. And I could sing it, right? I came up with the idea. A good way to make sure you're capturing that idea also is if you record like a vocal track of yourself singing it, you can always go back because you are going to forget your idea. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with just like adding a new track, adding a voice track, recording yourself singing that part. So then you can come back and listen to your original idea and go, oh, that's what it was. It was really cool. Sometimes the ideas kind of change a little bit. That's cool too. But I know I want it done. Now let's fix it to get it to that sound. Okay, so that attack right there. I know I want to I know that note is on the so I need to move it to the Right now I see, it's really hard to see this line, but it's on the and. So I'm going to move this one over to the Another good way to get an idea of the whole thing is to put your clip or whatever on loop. So I turn cycle mode on by just clicking this. You can turn it on and off right here. And then you could drag the end of the note, not the note, you can drag the end of this bar to show you, what is being repeated. So now I can just repeat it. Okay, so these need to kind of move over, scooch these over. That's not quite right. All right, so I have my notes. They have the beginnings of the notes. The attacks are in the right spots. With bass, especially, the ends of the notes are important. If you have notes that ring together, then like in this part right here, there's a little bit of connectedness that, it has a sound. If you want a little more impact, what you can do is you can take a note and you can make it shorter. So now since I have snap on, I can make it only that much shorter. Let's listen to that. And that sounds like a huge break. There's a big break in that bass sound. So now what I'm gonna do is, this is where you would turn off the snap to grid feature, and you can do that temporarily on the keyboard. So I'm just gonna, if I hold command while I drag this, it's the snaps off, and I like to do that. So maybe I'll leave just a little bit of space, and that's gonna help make that second note pop a little more. Hear that? There was that little break. I'll stop talking so you can hear it. Yeah, that little bit of break helped it snap. So now I'm gonna add that little bit of break to all of them and try to keep them the same. This one is a mess. Now I'm gonna have it go there. Maybe no break there since these are different notes. Maybe this is gonna have a larger break. Maybe there'll be a larger break here. I'll give it 1/16. Sometimes you want your bass notes to stop on the backbeat on beats 2 and 4, or if you're in halftime on beat 3, that really helps too. You just have to pay attention to those ends of notes. This is all about cleaning it up and getting the nitty-gritty details right. And that's what's going to take your projects and bring them to the next level. Maybe this one I want it to go here. Let's find that out. Let's put it on loop again. Nope, it did not want to do that. And you have to be okay with going back and fixing things. All right, I like that sound. Okay, I have that nailed. Now let's add in something else. Let's look at our drum part. I'm not even going to play the drum part. I'm just gonna look at the drum part. So this drum part, since I used an 808 bass, this is just hi-hat and snare. Now I could see the hi-hat It's not an even subdivision. I think I might have tried something fancy. I see the snare, and right away I see this is beat 2, that's beat 4. I want my snare drum notes to start on 2 and 4. I bet that's the backbeat. You can kind of just tell. After you look at the piano roll enough, you could tell. And then these notes, well, let's quantize just the snare drum and see what we got. So I'm only going to highlight those notes. And now I'm going to quantize to the 16th note subdivision. Ooh, something moved. And let's listen to that, and let's try to ignore. Here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these out. So I'm going to go to edit, and I'm going to cut. So it's saving them. I have them there, but I don't want to hear them right now. I'll add in that bass part. Hey, that's not bad. It's together. That's good. That's closer to what I wanted. Now let's put those hi-hats back, and let's hear. Ooh, I put them back in a weird spot. Make sure that your playhead is exactly where you want things to paste. So I'm making sure my playhead's back at the beginning. Edit, paste. Okay, so now let's listen. Sadness. Okay, so let's start by quantizing, and then let's see where we're at. I can already tell some of these are going to quantize to the wrong spot, like right there. Okay, so right here we see they quantized, but I had 2 notes right there. So it looked like it was all these 16th notes. Uh-oh, I'm missing a 16th note. All right, so how do we add stuff in? So there's 2 ways to do it. If you hold Option, I mean this is on Mac, but if I hold the Option key down, it turns it into a pencil, and I could just pencil things in. You could also click on the pencil tool here, and then you could just pencil things in. So now I penciled that 1 note in. Might need to pencil another note here. Let's see if one quantized over in the wrong spot. All right, maybe this one quantized over. No, it didn't. Did this one quantize over? Yes, it did. All right, so I have a bunch of notes. Now let's listen to these bunch of notes. Okay, so there's a strange thing going on in the hi-hat. I'm only hearing some notes. I see that there are some notes there, but I don't hear them. It's like they're too quiet, and I want the hi-hat to like kind of all be the same volume. So now we need to adjust the velocity of these notes. So if I click on this V over here, that shows me how hard these notes were recorded. Is that 2 notes? I don't know. So the highest number that you can get in MIDI is 127. And the lowest number, I guess, would be 1. 1 is like almost inaudible. 127 is really loud. With some instruments, when you go up in velocity, it actually changes the sound a little bit. So I am going to take some of these ones that are really, really, really low, and I'm going to bring them up. I'm just clicking, and I'm dragging up. Like this one's super low. It's 62. Move it to like 120. You could grab a bunch, and it's going to move like the average of them. So I grabbed a bunch, and now I'm just moving them up like 100 and something. That one's too low. That one's too low. In some DAWs, you can have more like parameters about where you want some of this to end up. I'll grab them all again. I'll just turn them all the way up. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so now let's listen back. Some of them are still a little low. This one's a little low. Again, it's the nitty-gritties. That's what's going to bring your song. And having a little bit of velocity change is actually cool. It humanizes it. But let's say I wanted to put in some like little rolls. How do you do that? Since I'm in the 16th note grid, I can't like put a note in. If I want to go put a note in here, I can only put it in there. I guess I can move it around by, oh, you have to make sure you're in the pointer tool. I guess I can move it around like that by unlocking Snap to Grid, or I could just change the grid size. So now I'm going to change the grid size to 32nd note. And now I could just choose, where do I want these things to happen? So I'm going to listen to the groove. So I want one there. Put one there. If you double click, it is the pencil tool. You don't even need to worry about the Option key or anything. So So maybe I want maybe there. Is that what I wanted? Maybe just a lot of them at the end. Go crazy. Let's go crazy. Well, let's not do that one. I mean, that might sound cool. Who knows? That sounds better, right? So let's go to the next track here. This track has pitch. It's using a glidey. Oh boy. I know I wanted the same thing over and over again. So some of these notes are wrong. I wanted da 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 ba da 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 da. I do have like an extra note at the end. So let's quantize it first. And this time I'm going to quantize it by clicking on the region. Region, quantize. Da 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 da. Now, this thing da 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 da. Da, 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 da. It's only an eighth note, so I'm going to quantize it only to the eighth note. Why not? Okay, so now I quantized the eighth note. Things moved a lot. First note that I hear that's wonky is this one. So how do we adjust this note? First off, if you click on the note, it tells you, it said it was B4. It tells you the velocity, so it gives you some information about that note. All these other notes ended on B. So all I have to do is click the note and move it up. Now make sure that your snap is clicked to the right one, otherwise it'll snap to, wherever. So I wanted that. Let's listen back. All right, this note was weird too, so I'm gonna move it and click it up. Let's say if I wanted this whole thing to sound lower, maybe I could just highlight them all. And then if you right click, you have change pitch here. And I can change pitch, so 12 is 1 octave. So if I wanted it to go down an octave, and I can kind of test which one I liked better. I could test which one I liked better by like listening to it with the rest of the track. I kind of liked it lower. So I'm going to take all these notes, and I am going to change the pitch, and I'm going to go down the octave. Okay. Now, I have to worry about the way that this effect works, this glide thing, is you need to have notes that are on top of each other. That's why that's like that. That gives it that glidey sound. So sometimes maybe I don't want it to have like the, maybe I want separate notes. So I have to be aware of that. And again, it's all about the details. Maybe that last one. Okay, so that last one. Maybe I wanted it to just have this note pop out. I'm going to grab the end of this. I'm going to hold down my command there. So now it's not going to... bad idea. Let's see. There you go. That's better. Okay, so actually, I'm going to keep it over. Made a mistake. That's okay. We all make mistakes. So now let's look at the other part that I recorded. It's like a B section here. It's missing some stuff. Oh boy. Sounds like they're not matched, like rhythmically. They're not matched with their pitch either, and they're not matched with the harmony. Like the chords are different, which we'll have to fix. So let's fix the rhythm first. So I'm in here, thinking about what the subdivision is. You can see the like the pattern here. This is in 16th note, and then being able to like sing your part and then feel that subdivision, verbalize the subdivision in some way. That's going to help you get there to figure out what subdivision it's in. So now I'm going to listen to just this track, and I'm going to listen to it with 16th note. Okay. It's good. And now with this specific patch, it doesn't matter how long the notes are. Like I can make them super long and listen to what happens. Doesn't matter. So you don't have to worry about the ends of the notes of this patch. All right, so now let's listen to this next one. Let's fix the next one. We have some like pad chord things here. And I'm gonna click on, oh boy. Okay, especially with chords, I've found. Sometimes it's hard to play chords. And sometimes you go to play a chord and it's like you get some like flamming, some notes are after other ones, so you can fix that by just visually like, okay, it looked like it needed to go there. Well, first let's start with I think this was 8th note. I'm gonna quantize to the 8th note, and now let's listen to what we have. Oh boy, that need to go there. Okay. That could go there. Let's hear it. Some of these are, yeah. Some of these are way too long, right? So let's make all of these notes the same length. I'm gonna highlight them all, and then, oh, look at that. That's silly. I want it to end on the note. So what you can do here is if you adjust the size to the quarter note, it's going to snap things to the quarter note. Like right here, it snapped to the wrong, I think, 32nd note. But if we're dealing with quarter note values, it's only going to snap to the quarter note value. Wow, look at how cool that was. Oh, this is 8th note. There we go. We fixed that. Now we have to determine, do we want that connected sound by having them next to each other? Let's listen to that. No, we do not. We want a little bit of space. I'm gonna give that space there. Let's snap this. Let's make this the same by going all the way and then coming back a little. Yeah. All right, so I have this like, well, yeah, let's go all the way. And come back a little. And let me show you how to maybe use the piano roll as a tool to help get some chordal ideas, right? And then work on the like connection between the hands here and the piano roll itself. So I have this chord, right? I have G, A, and D. So on the piano, that's G, A, and D. And then it's going to this chord. But maybe I want it to have another note or less notes. So what you could do in here is you can kind of just experiment. Let's have the shell of the chord down, right? Let's just listen to it. And let's make this smaller so I hear less stuff. Maybe I want that. And then I want another one there. Ba-bum. If I go to my piano, D, G, A, D, and I can figure out the next chord. And now I had to add in my thumb there. I had to change the position here. But if you learn that with your hand, if you learn these cool new shapes, maybe you get rid of a note. Maybe you're like, I don't want that note there. I don't want that note there. Get it and then relearn it with your hand. And what you're going to do is you're going to develop muscle memory for that sound. You're going to hear that sound again when you're inspired. You're like, oh, I want that sound. I want to do it. And then you can get it out in an efficient and effective, quick way by playing it. But if you've memorized what you've already changed on the piano roll with your hands, then you'll be able to get that part out too. So we still have the issue of the harmony. These chords are wrong right here. So it went from like that E minor thing, and then it went to B, G, B, G, B. Okay, so that's like a G chord. Okay, so G, B, D. And it's helpful if you want to write things down. You can write things down, or you can use this little feature here. You can say like, all right, this is a G major chord. You know, I could just write that in, and now I know it's a G major chord right there. If I ever wanted to, I can click that. It says, oh, that's a G major chord. All right, so G major chord is G, B, D. This chord is G, E, B. So I need to take these notes and move them to Ds. And then like that last chord is like a D sus, so it'd be like D, G, A. So I need to take both these notes, move them down to D, and these move both these to A's. And then let's make this take those G's and have them resolve to F sharps. Now I can listen to all three of them together. That sounds good. Okay, now let's listen to both of these together. All right. So I have that part, and now let's do some magic here. Like, this isn't in the piano roll necessarily, but gonna unmute. You notice I've been muting and soloing tracks. To mute a track, you just click on mute. To solo a track, you click on little headphones, and you only hear that track. You can mute and solo different amounts of tracks. So now let's bring some stuff over here. You could loop a region by clicking on this. So if I loop this region, it's just gonna keep doing the exact same thing. I could expand the region, so then it gives me more room to add stuff. Or you can copy and paste. So if I copy and paste, what's cool about that is, like, if I looped this, and then if I change something here, it would change something here. If I copy and pasted it, it wouldn't do that. So I'm gonna go, edit, copy, or Control Z. So I'm gonna Control Z, and then make sure you know where your playhead is, Control V. Now it's here. What you can also do is, if you hold Option on your keyboard, you're holding the right one if, ooh, hello. You're holding the right one if you get these little arrows. You can hold it and then click and then drag, and you could duplicate. So that just like copy and pasted instantly. It's a duplicate. And you can do that in the piano roll too. So if I grab some notes, so let's say I grabbed like these notes. If I held that Option down, I'm duplicating these notes, which is really helpful tool. Makes things a lot faster. But maybe I wanted to get rid of all the snare drums. Got rid of all the snare drums there. Maybe I don't want those 16th notes anymore. So I'm going to quantize to those 32nd notes, and I just quantize to the 16th. Got rid of them. And maybe I want like a build up. Maybe I want like a bunch of snare drums. And then maybe I want like 30-second note snares. Do I want 30-second note snares? Does anybody ever want 30-second note snares? I don't know. Let's find out. What does it sound like if you have 30-second note snares? That sounds fine to me. Okay. So now, there's that little breakdown thing. Boom, boom. Maybe I want some more bass, right? So I'm going to take this bass thing. I'm just going to duplicate it over. And I'm going to change things up. This went down the octave. So I want it to go back up. I'm going to go pitch, change pitch, up the octave. Ooh, boom. And then I know this changes. So I'm going to duplicate this again, because it changed with the harmony. Like I went to, hey, what chord is this? It's a G major chord. So I need to change this to a G major. Right now it was an E, G, and then I know that this is a D, D. All right, cool. Let's say it wasn't enough bass for you. So you're like a bass crazy person. What you could do is, if you click on the three dots, you could duplicate the entire track. Now I have two of the exact same sounds. You could test the different sounds. Like if I press for R on both of those. Now right now, when I play a note on the piano, I am playing both of those patches. So I have like a whole lot of bass going on right now. So I can layer basses. Say I wanted, you hear now I have the both of them. Ooh. Now let's listen to that. I layer those two. And then go right back. So now let's do a little bit of quick arranging. So let's say I had that there. I'm gonna highlight, ooh, I want to highlight everything. Highlight everything here. I'm gonna move that there. Maybe, maybe it starts there. I'm gonna duplicate this. No, not the whole thing. I'm gonna duplicate just this. Actually, let's duplicate this one. This one had the rolls. Okay, so now I have it duplicated. I'm going to get rid of that, and I only want those weird. All right, not yet. Not yet. Not yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. All right, moving that over. Make sure you have your snap on. Okay. I want to change this. I like the way it sounded low in the beginning. Maybe I wanted to go high here, but these are now the same. I'm looping this. So if you have a track that has a region and you want to modify one part of the region, if you highlight the region, go to Edit, you can go to Split Region, and now it's 2 parts. And now I can just click Edit, change pitch, go up 12, and now I went up. You hear that? And I want this whole thing to repeat twice. So I'm a little intro, I have that, and now maybe I don't want that to. And you know what? Let's put in a little hole here. On beat 4, it's just gonna be kind of nothing. All right. And then right back into, yeah, I caught myself doing this. If you're doing this, you're doing something right. So I have these. I'm going to duplicate these over. It's right there. There we go. Now I have something. So if we backtrack, first we worked on the rhythm, we worked on the beginnings of notes, we worked on the ends of notes, then we worked on the velocities of notes, and then we worked on some of the pitches. We did some, duplicating, some copying and pasting. So we got the regions looking how we wanted them. We built a phrase, and then from the phrase, we were able to do some arrangement stuff in the timeline view. So I think about the piano roll as micro, and I think about timeline as macro. That's big picture. And then we were able to get something that sounds good, and it was way closer to what the original intention was. So if you master the piano roll, you will become a better producer.